to go through team management, which is more commonly known as user management. Then we're going to go through smart ways to manage presentations in your team. That is not only the admin's duty, but others as well. But admins have a big role in keeping those in line. Then we're going to check how the brand, image bank, and smart slides are being managed. And then at the end, we're going to go through the analytics in Seidat. So we have a few different pathways we can look at on the analytics side. Then if we have time at the end, I'm going to quickly introduce the integration possibilities, but we'll see about that. Today's webinar will be hosted by me. I am Joona. I've been working at Seidat for a few years, and I've been working with hundreds of different clients, helping them to get their presentation materials to the next level, and also have the Seidat onboarding be a success in different companies. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me after this one or through the chat, where our whole team will be answering your questions. About today's webinar, a few things that I would like to point out. There is a chat in the Google Meet where you can ask questions if you want to. I or someone from our team will answer in the chat or in this video format. During the training, if you would like to, and if you have a team, please test out the things I will show you, and especially if you're the team owner or admin, you can see many of the places I'm going to show you tonight in your own team. And if you have any feedback, you can contact through the chat or with an email. I always appreciate feedback, positive and constructive as well. So it is going to help us produce better webinars in the future. Today's webinar, I will be hosting it from my home, which is a bit blurred out on the background. I have a dog here with me, so if the dog is angry at your questions, she might bark a bit, but let's hope not. I see some names that I recognize, and I see some names that I do not recognize at the moment. So I will quickly start with quick introduction on what Seidat is. So if you're new to Seidat, you can get on board with it. So I usually say that in a nutshell, we are a presentation platform, a slide deck platform, as it says on the slide. And what that means is that you can do the basic stuff you could do in PowerPoint in Seidat. So starting with creation of the presentation, editing afterwards, of course, you can present and you can share the presentations. But since we are a team-based tool, you can do, well, team-based stuff. So you can work as a team to create the best material for your company, and then you can present the presentations in any given situation to any audience you have. And this is still our core, but we are working towards being a better sales tool, and we have few features that are really important what comes to sales and different sizes of companies in general. And today we're going to mostly focus on these features. First one being team management and presentation management. So at this day and age, it is still quite common with other presentation softwares to have material that is really out of date, or it could be totally with the wrong content. So we're trying to help you to keep your material better up to date, and also to have those persons who need to have the presentations available, and those who, for example, leave the company, we could then manage those with ease and restrict the access for those. Then what comes to sales, usually getting relevant data timely data on how the customer behaves is important. And with our analytics, you can see when your presentations have been opened. At the moment, you can also connect your Google Analytics or your Google Tag Manager, and you can connect different softwares to that. And then you can have much more in-depth analytics available through those softwares. And then e-signature is somewhat related to all this. This is the basic of Seidat. E-signature is more to design at the end of the sales process as an individual feature. So if you have the e-signature in your team active, you can send out any presentation to be signed and viewed by your customers or your colleagues or you name it. It doesn't matter. And the e-signature feature is designed with the ease of use in mind. So it is super easy for the salesperson to use. It is super easy for the customer to sign and agree on what you want to tell. So this is the basic gist of it. There's a lot more that we're gonna cover tonight. This is already quite nice, and we keep developing our tool in general. So that's always a good thing. Then quickly talking about sales process and how I quickly mentioned the e-signature, which is usually at the end of the sales process as we would like to see it. We recognize that presentations are key tool in the sales process, and usually when people think about presentations, they think about the meetings that they're going to have with the customer, but we think it more broader, that you can start using a different kind of materials way before you ever might be in face-to-face or online contact with the customer. And usually that is some sort of a company presentation or some sort of pre-meeting material that you can use. The key aspect is that it has to be understandable without the salesperson being in contact with the client or the prospect. Then you might have the meeting at some stage after that, and usually the sales material is a bit larger what comes to the pre material that you might send. And then you usually use some sort of after sales material or after meeting material. We usually talk with the term sponsor letter. So that is one aspect to look at it. So you summarize what has been discussed, and then when the customer has to sell within their company, they can do that with the material that they have received. Then different kind of offer material is what a lot of our companies or customers use Seidat for. So they create the offer templates, and then they might send those out and go through the offer in an online meeting with their customers. So that is the different phases, kind of, with different kind of presentation material, but it all comes together in this platform. And then at the end, like I mentioned, you might need to sign the presentation or agree on something, so you can send it with the e-signature in Seidat. But yeah, that was a few slide presentation on Seidat itself. Let's jump into the Seidat tool. For those who just joined, there is the chat. So if you want to ask questions, you can use that. Or if you feel comfortable of opening your mic, you can also ask questions in there. Me and my teammate Emma is here to answer all the questions you might have. It doesn't have to be related to today's agenda. So you can ask anything about Seidat, and I'll be more than happy to answer those. But let's go forward to the next topic. So I would start about talking about the smart management of the presentations and the users also. So the tool itself, for those who have been using Seidat for longer, you most likely have noticed that Seidat is a simple tool to use, but there are still a lot of best practices you might not know, and hopefully after this one, the use will be much easier with Seidat. So I have here a demonstration team that I just created today. There's nothing special going on in here. So in your team, there might be much more content, much more smart slides, images, different brand settings, and so on. But the core of the team is the same as your team. So if we start by what are the best practices in, let's jump to the user tab first. So I have added here now a few example persons that I could add to any team. And key things to keep in mind about the user levels are that you can set a specific user level for each individual user, well, individually, or added to that, you can do different kind of customizations to the user level on presentation basis. So you can set a custom presentation access level to each individual presentation if you need to. I have now added Jane and John to the team, and they are, let's say Jane is the CEO who might not be using the presentations all that much, and that's why she is a sharer. She doesn't need to edit many of the presentations, and they might need to have a presentation every now and then, and sharer is a really good option for that. I added John as a brand manager. He can be the main person to keep the material up to date, and brand management access gives the largest possibilities to edit the material in the team. They can also edit the brand settings, which I'm going to cover a bit later, and then they can edit the tags as well in the team. Then in between those, we have the Smart Slide Editor who can edit all the presentations as a default, and then the Smart Slides also. And then we have the editor level in the team as well. These are the most common 4 ones, I would say. Between Share Editor, Smart Slide Editor, and Brand Management, most of the Seidat users are one of those. They might be use cases to have someone as a viewer where they can only see presentations, or as a no rights user altogether. No rights, we have few in our actual Seidat team, so the team we are using ourselves, and those are mostly like subcontractors, or I don't know the correct term in English, but those who might sell our products on our behalf. So we might add them into the team, give them access to a few of the presentations they might need when they're selling our products or services, and have them as no rights, because we don't want them to see all the other presentations, internal, external, from the team. And one thing to keep in mind with Jane here in the team, her being a sharer, is that if there is a need for her to edit some of the presentations in the team, we can always give that access. Or Jane can also restrict John of having access for some presentations if there's the need for that. The top 3 user levels we have here are content management user level, which means that they are kind of like the heavy users, the heavy editors in the team. And the plans currently in the Seidat team are divided between content managers and total users. Usually the ratio is 1 to 3. So you might have 1 content manager per 3 total users. And that means so you could have both Jane and John and someone else in this team as a content manager, and then 6 others. This can be customized. So if you are not achieving the way you want to work with Seidat with the plan you're having. So if it's too little content managers, for example, you can ask and we will help you get more content manager seats into the team. But yeah, that said, having these user levels is usually something you need to do ever so often, but usually the ones you set up originally are good to go for a while, and then if someone needs more access, owners and admins can grant them more access, or if there's a need to shift bigger access level to someone else, it can be done through here as well. I will come back to this view in just a second, but I'll show you how the presentation access can be edited through the team here or the presentation here. So whichever presentation I can see here, I can edit the presentation access by pressing the same icon I found here under users. So once I click this, it will open up the dialog box here, and there are two basic functionalities here. So I can lower the maximum team access. That is, as a default, everyone who's editors or above will be able to edit and so on. But if I want to restrict that if this presentation that I'm editing here would be something that I wouldn't want anyone in the team besides me editing, only sharing or viewing, or either one of those, I could lower the max team access to sharing, and that would give me the possibility to be the only editor. Or if I need to add, let's say, John as an editor as well, I could do that. If I would want to hide this presentation altogether, I could do that as well. And then I would just choose no access hidden here, and everyone who are not listed here would not be able to see that presentation in the team. If I would be creating new material for salespersons, for example, I could hide the presentation until it's ready, so no one accidentally would be using it. Or if I'm using Seidat for board material or something like that, I could hide the presentation and then not worry about if someone who's not supposed to see the presentation could see it. So this is a good method in both of those situations and in some others. I will press cancel. I will not change that now. Usually you don't need to give more access or take access away if you have set the correct user level that they usually require through here. So I'm back at the users tab, and a few things to add to what we covered previously is that we have two different admin levels. There is admin, which is pretty basic stuff. They can manage team settings, they can manage the plan and billing, users accept the owners, and API keys. So they can do a lot of the team admin work that you could typically find in a software like this. What owners have, beside not being subjected to any changes the admin makes in the user levels, the most important stuff is on the dashboard here. And that is this button here, which allows the owners to see all the hidden presentations. So if there would be some presentation that would be hidden from me, by pressing the show hidden button as an owner, I could see all the different presentations that are hidden. And this is the reason that usually within a company, there's only the highest ranking members might be the owners of the team. So if they do create a material for board meetings, for example, then they will be the only ones seeing those presentations. And if they hide it, no one else could see the presentation on their behalf. So multiple people in the team can be owners, but usually I recommend the person who owns the team. And it is a good thing that there is at least one, there could be multiple owners. So if there's accidentally someone hiding a presentation or something has to be found, the owners can always find all the presentations in the team. I usually recommend adding admin rights to those persons who have people they need to add to the team or edit their user level. So head of sales, for example, might be one, and they would add other salespersons to the team whenever there's the need. And then if someone would leave the company or would not need the access to the presentations anymore, admins can, or owners can, then remove the person from the team altogether. So that's pretty much what comes to the user management, and that covers a lot of the aspects that you might need to be aware of when editing the user access levels. So to put this in a nutshell, those persons who don't need to edit all that many presentations, they might need to edit a presentation every now and then, add them as sharers. And always, if you add new persons who are not familiar with the tool, I would recommend adding those persons as users with the sharer access level. If there's the need for salespersons to edit more presentations, or anyone in the team for that matter, add them as editors or smart slide editors. So I would usually start again with new persons, new users, to only give them editor rights before they fully understand what smart slides do and what are the risks that are involved with them. Having multiple brand managers in the team might be useful in some situations, but usually I don't see the need to have more than, let's say, 2, irrelevant of the team size. So if there's 100 people in the team, usually still 2 brand managers is enough. So there's that. And having at least one owner is a requirement, but you can have multiple, but it's up to you if there's the need. And having admins as rarely or widely used as needed. So adding admin rights to those persons who need to, well, admin people and admin users or the team itself. By the way, again, if you have any questions, type them in the chat or just open your microphone. If you have no questions about this, let's go to the smart slide management, which is one of the key.
Sorry, can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
What kind of level is that can complete presentation, let's say, from the smart slides, but cannot make any changes in the slide?
Yeah.
So can make the presentation, but cannot update the slide itself, the design and slide itself.
Yeah, that is a great question, and any user level is capable of doing that in different certain situations. So let's say I have someone, no matter what the user level is, let's say John is no access or John is a sharer, I can add them as editors to this presentation, and then they can edit the presentation, but they cannot edit the smart slide itself or any smart slides in the team. So if I add John as an editor, John might be able to go to the presentation, see the whole thing, and then move slides around or add a new slide or do the basic presentation editing, but not edit those smart slides. I don't know if this was the question you had, but it depends if the person has granted or if they have the access through the presentation access. But In other cases, as a default, you need the editor rights to be able to do that as a default for all the different presentations in the team. Let me know if that skipped your question. All right, thank you. Yeah, but let's then talk a bit about the smart slide feature in Seidat. The smart slide feature is important for everyone in the team, no matter, again, what the user level is, but just for different purposes. So if you're the team admin or the main person responsible for the material, smart slides in the team correctly used will make sure you don't need to spend as much time upkeeping the presentations as you might need in somewhere else. And it also ensures that latest updates will be in the presentations that you are using. Currently, I only have one presentation with smart slides in the team or in the presentation. But if I copy that presentation, this presentation has the smart slides. So if I copy this, I can then see that now they are used in two different presentations. And smart slides are a feature that I summarized such that you have one slide that you use in multiple slides. Then if it's a smart slide, you only need to edit it to one of those presentations or through here into the smart slide bank. And once you do any edits to these presentations or these slides, it will automatically update all the different presentations where this is in use. In our team, our actual Seidat team that we use, we have slides that are almost, I think 700 presentations is close to where the most used slides are. And if we need to edit one of those, it is super simple just to edit one slide and have 700 different presentations up to date with just one edit. What comes to the management of these, it is quite simple. So from any presentation you can go that has slides that you want to use more often, you just go to edit presentation. So if this product slide would be one of those that you want to use in different presentations, you could just click the three ellipses on top and then make smart slide. And then this would be converted into a smart slide, which you can then distinguish in any presentation by the top corner icon and the white triangle in it. And now you can see when I go to the smart slide bank, you can see that the product slide is now here. And now I could use this in multiple different presentations and it would then be linked to those different presentations. What you can do here in this view, the smart slide bank, is select one or more slides, and then you will have these features available. So once you click these slides, they will be numbered, so you can distinguish how many different slides you have selected. Then you can unlink and delete those if there's the need. You can replace one slide or multiple slides with one that you choose. So in a case where you would have different slides with the same content, you could then replace that slide from all the presentations with just a new slide if there's the need. So for example, if you have a product that is exiting your product catalog, you can then replace all the slides about the old product with some new product that will overtake the old product altogether. And then, of course, you can duplicate any slide in here if there's the need. What comes to naming the slides, it is important to name them accordingly. So if you're telling about a product A, you usually want to have the product A in the name as well, because then it's also easier to find, but also you can then use the analytics much more, well, it is going to make it easier to use the analytics if you have the slide name be descriptive on what the slide actually contains. But yeah, apart from that, keeping these smart slides is pretty easy. Keeping them up to date is pretty easy. I mean, so there needs to be only little governing to those presentations. Few things to also mention is that you can see how many different presentations the presentation or the slide is being used, and by clicking that text, you can see all the different presentations that contain this slide at the moment. And a few questions I sometimes get asked when having these trainings is that what happens if you delete the slide from here, and that is written here. So it will only delete the smart slide itself. It will not delete the remaining slides in the presentation. So if I would delete this, it is now gone from here, but the slide itself is still in the presentations as a normal slide. So no longer those two presentations are not linked for what comes to that slide. So there are some use cases you might want to delete the slide from here and then have only individual slides in that place. Also, I get asked if I go to any presentation and I delete this slide, what will happen to that slide itself, or if I move it around, what happens to the structure of the other presentations where this slide is being used. And the answer is nothing. It will only delete the slide from this presentation, or if I move this around, it will only move in this presentation. So only thing that is linked is the content on the slide. All right. Do you guys have any more questions about the use of Seidat or smart slides in this point? Again, if you do, you can type them in or ask them by opening the mic. The second or third tab from the top is the images tab. And for those who have been using Seidat for longer, know that there is the image bank in your team as well, where you can upload all the images and logos and graphics and all those things that you need on the presentations. And what comes to keeping this image bank up to date and easy for everyone to find the image that they need, it is pretty simple. But sometimes when you're just working and doing and creating new material, you might need to stop every now and then and go through the image bank and organize it in a smart way. How we usually recommend organizing the smart slide bank is using the folders a lot, of course. So if you have different products, for example, and you have a lot of images for those products, I would then create a folder for each of those product images, and then it would be much easier to find the images. So pretty much basic folder work that you might do in somewhere else in your connected drive for your company drive. You might do that there. The same things that you might want to do there apply here. So I don't think I need to explain that more. But few things to keep in mind for what comes to the images. First, the image quality. There is no lower limit on what the image quality has to be. So Seidat does not warn that this image is too low resolution or it has some problems with the resolution. But I would always recommend if you are using an image as a background to have it at least HD quality. So that is one thing. There is no upper limit on how big the image can be. Seidat automatically scales it down to fit the maximum resolution of the screen anyone is opening the presentation with. So you can have them bigger than usually you need, and then if if someone is opening with a HK or 4K screen, the image will load in a much bigger form. Then one thing a lot of our users actually are unaware is the possibility. Let's go actually somewhere else. Let's go to icons. Is the possibility to replace an image from the team image bank altogether. So if you have the situation where you get a new logo, new icon, new background image in some instances is something you might want to replace, you can do that in one folder. So if you have those different images, icons, logos, whatever, in the same folder, you can then select all of them and then just click replace and choose which image, in this case the icon, would replace the others. Usually, well, might not be very useful to replace icons, but especially with logos or headshots of people, you might want to replace those. If a new salesperson comes on board, you can just replace the old who's leaving the company with the image of the new one, and make it a bit easier again to replace the old information from the presentations. So this is what you can do here with the control or with the command if you're using Mac, or with Alt key. You can select multiple images and then just clicking replace, you will choose which image will replace the others, and then just clicking replace all, and it will automatically update the new image to all of the slides that are using the old image. But yeah, apart from that, there's not much to add. One thing that comes to uploading, you can connect different sources to the team you're having. So if you use Google Drive, for example, for your images, you might want to connect that directly here, and then it is easy to add the images directly from there. You can also connect Facebook, Instagram, for example, but I usually wouldn't recommend doing so because Facebook and Instagram both, they compress the image quality down quite a lot. So using those images as a background might not work because the quality is just too compressed. Then let's move to the brand management and what there is to know about that. We have few new features that I think last week or week before that we released. But let's go the basic stuff first. So we have here in the brand settings two main things. So there's the color palette, which allows you to have the company colors directly here, and they will help you to both create different kind of elements on the slide, and also to use in these fonts that you have in the team. And the next thing is the text styles or the fonts. So in Seidat, you set different text styles you want, and everyone editing the presentation will use those specific font styles. And the update we had is related to different sources. So we have now both possibility to add Adobe fonts to the team, whereas previously those were unavailable for Seidat users to use. And also other sources like My Fonts and Google Fonts are all possible to add. So if you want a custom font that is outside of Google Fonts or outside of the standard font selection, you need to contact us, and then we can help you. The easiest way to contact us, by the way, is through the chat here. So if you have any questions, you can type in the message, and usually we answer within a few minutes during the work days, at least the Finnish working hours. But few things to add is two different system fonts that we added to brand selection. So most of you know these fonts previously. So we have Arial and we have Times New Roman both here, and they are quite commonly used in different PowerPoints. And if you're using the PowerPoint import a lot and you are using Arial or Times New Roman in your PowerPoint, it might make sense to have them as your selected fonts here in Seidat. And they work pretty much the same as any other font that you can find here or any other font that we can add to the theme, except that it says here, I don't know what these are. I always forget the word for this. But anyways, it says system font here. And what that means is that those fonts rely on your device's system. So every other device nowadays has Arial and Times New Roman installed, except Android phones. And what that means is that whenever you open a presentation, if I would choose Arial here now, and it would have the title 70 black, extra bold, used. If I would open it with my MacBook or with my Windows PC or with my iPhone or iPad, it would show the font as Arial. But if I open it with the Android phone, it would show it as a substitute for this Arial font because it's not on the device itself. And both of these fonts have a really good fallback. So Arial is Arimo. I don't remember actually what Times New Roman has, but it is super close to being with the original font. So it's barely noticeable by those who are not super into fonts and calligraphy, I think is the word. So yeah, those are added features, and we'll be thinking of adding new system fonts here as well as possibilities. So then, if you're using a different Microsoft licensed fonts on your device or in your PowerPoint, for example, and you import them a lot, it might make sense to use those. Hopefully, I made it quite clear what the system font means. It is still a bit new to me to explain as well, especially in English. So hopefully you understood. But if you have any questions, again, let me know. One thing to add to the brand selection in general is that once you select which fonts you use, usually it's the same you use on your website or in your PowerPoint material, and what is decided on your graphical guidelines. That's usually good for a long time. But if there's the need at any stage to update the font selection here, it is quite easy to do that here. So if you are choosing to go with Arimo, for example, as your main font, you just change all the different textiles in here, and they will be updated on the presentation automatically. So you don't need to go through all the slides and updating them manually. So all the material will be up to date. But one thing to keep in mind if you're doing that, or if you're planning to do that, is that the different fonts are different. They have different width, so they might be whereas one font the word fits neatly on one row. With other font, it might be longer, so the row, the different rows might change how the slide looks like. So that's something you need to remember if you're changing the font families through here. But that's something that you can manage, but something you need to be aware of. All right, let me check if I forgot something important I wanted to add here. All right, I think that's quite the things I wanted to tell you about the smart slides, image bank, brand management, user access levels, and user management in general. I will not discuss the e-signature in depth in this webinar, but briefly to introduce the feature for you, it is a feature that I mentioned is not part of the basic packages of Seidat. That can be turned on if there's the need to test it out. There is a trial you can get and then test out how it works for you. But in a nutshell, the feature offers you the possibility to send any presentation from the team to be signed by your clients, your colleagues, whoever, as long as you know their email. So you just send the material to be signed in their email. They open the signing page, and then they can see the material itself. They can see a lot of the background data that you added, and the system adds automatically, and then they can just sign or decline the material from there. And once everyone has declined, or I mean, signed the presentation, then you can get the, or you will get the signed version to send to anyone, and it will be sent automatically to everyone who signed the presentation. So that is something that can be used to sign offers or sign different documents, or in any case where you need to get some sort of signature from your client. And if you want to know more about the e-signature feature, again, you can contact us through the phone or preferably through the chat here. We have a bit more than 10 minutes left, and I will use that time to go through the analytics possibilities with Seidat, and then we're pretty much good to go. I would usually describe the analytics being in few different paths that you can take. You have both the Google Analytics option here and Google Tag Manager as well. But you can find also here when I open any presentation and go to the Share Presentation menu here, if I have any Seidat links or Seidat Live links created to this presentation, I can see all of them here under this presentation, and I can see how many times the link has been opened. This is a counter that will count all the team or the presentation opens from outside of your team. So if you send this to a client, you can see how many times the presentation has been opened. And then once you see that, hey, this presentation was opened by my client, then I might call them a bit earlier than originally planned. And if I want to create multiple links to one presentation, that is of course possible. And then you have individual tracking on how many times the presentation has been open for each individual link. This is still quite light for what comes to analytics, and it is a feature that we are going to expand in the near future. I don't know yet when exactly, but hopefully soon we will have more details on each individual link and how they're opened and so on. But for now, that is on in all teams. So if you're using your material, any presentation link that has been created, I think it was August when we introduced that feature, you can see how many times the link has been opened. But then if you're interested in seeing more about how the presentations have been viewed and what slides and so on, then you have few features available. So you have the Google Analytics that you can use. So if you turn, or if you add your Google Analytics tracking ID here, it will automatically start receiving information, data from the Seidat presentation opens and so on. So all the material will be automatically tracked by your own Google Analytics. We currently only support Universal Analytics version, so we don't support Google Analytics 4, which was launched, I think, the end of last year. And that means that if you want to use your Google Analytics tracking ID, it's easy. You just add it here. If you want to use Google Analytics 4, it has to be done through the Google Tag Manager here. I'll explain a bit more in just a second. In here is a screenshot from way back from our own analytics view. And this is what you can see immediately once you turn that on and start collecting data. Of course, it doesn't retroactively collect the data, so it only starts collecting the data once it has been added to the team. But anyways, you can see how many times different pages have been viewed under the presentation. You can see unique page views, average time on page, entrances, and so on, as long as you go to the right view in the Google Analytics. As a default, if you go here under behavior, site content, and all pages, you will see different kind of URLs, so different links to the material, and you can change that by clicking the page title here. That is the second arrow pointing downwards. And then you can search by any presentation name in the search bar here. If you have the page open, you can then just use any of the links or the URLs to search for a different kind of presentation. So if again I go back here, I could then search anything after .com would be added to the search bar, and I could then see exactly how many times the pages have been viewed, what slides, how much time has spent on each slide, and so on. So having the possibilities is sometimes quite nice to see if there's the need to collect more data on each individual link opens. Then I think the most interesting part about the analytics is the possibility to have the Google Tag Manager added to the team. And what this allows you to do in a nutshell is we are going to send data to your Google Tag Manager if you had added it to your team, and then Google Tag Manager acts kind of as a mediator between Seidat and some other software. So you might attach HubSpot if you're using that one, or Google Analytics 4, Lead Feeder. There are a lot of different softwares you can add to Google Tag Manager, and then based on the setup, you will automatically transfer the data to those different softwares. So if we take HubSpot as an example, and this is something some of our clients have done, they have added the Google Tag Manager here, and then they have configured the Tag Manager to send data to the customer cards or the customer profiles in HubSpot. And then if someone that HubSpot recognizes is viewing any of the team's presentations, it will automatically add the data to the customer profile in HubSpot. And that allows you to, well, have the data in the right place. So it's in HubSpot if you analyze how the customer has behaved. And also it allows you to do different kind of automations based on the actions they do in the Seidat and with your presentations. So that is something to keep in mind, that Google Tag Managers allows you to do much more than just see the view and see, okay, this presentation has been opened so many times, because it will automatically transfer it to the right place if it's configured correctly. But again, to put the analytics in a nutshell, we have the internal analytics, which is like the easiest to use. Of course, it is there. You can see the number of opens. You have the Google Analytics possibility, and in some cases it might be useful to use. But Google Tag Manager out of the latest two is the one that I'm quite excited about, and it is expanding, and we keep developing it. So it is something to keep in mind. And ActiveCampaign, do we have any connections to it? Actually, that's something I don't know off the bat. I haven't worked with ActiveCampaign yet. That's something you could check if Google Tag Manager has connections to it. Most likely, if they have done the integration, they have that. And that brings me to the last topic of today, and we have a few more minutes to cover this, and that is the APIs that we have here. So we have open API that you can use to connect to any software that has an open API, and you have the know-how to do that. Depending on what you want to do, it's usually a few hours of configuring if you know what you're doing, or if you hire someone who knows what they're doing as well. That's a possibility. But then besides the open API, we have the Zapier integration, and I guess a lot of you know what Zapier is, but for those who don't, it is an integration tool that helps you connect any two softwares that have created their integrations to Zapier. So Zapier kind of works similar that Google Tag Manager works, that we integrate to Zapier, and then other softwares connect to Zapier as well. And there are a few things you can do. You can check if ActiveCampaigns if it's possible to connect through Zapier. But few of the things our customers have done is connect Seidat with their CRM tool, and that could automate the whole offer creation process that you might have. So those clients who have created offer template in Seidat have connected their CRM to automatically update or first copy the presentation in Seidat and then update it automatically in Seidat. So if I show you here what is the basic idea. By the way, Jonas, Emma sent you a message in the chat, so there is some documentation about it. But once you send, or once you move your deal or opportunity in your CRM to the offer phase, or whichever phase you want in the sales pipeline, that can activate the integration, and automatically it can then copy the template and fill in the details that you want to fill in, and then it can automatically create a link to Seidat presentation and add that back to the CRM. So this, if you have it done in the right way and your products are packaged in a way that you could do this, might automate the whole creation process in such a manner that you still have customer specific offers that then you can analyze, and you can easily then send them through the CRM or send them through your email directly to the customer. And yeah, this is one example what the API offers with Zapier or with direct integrations. And I recommend, if this is something you're interested in, to look into it a bit more, what the integrations make possible, or help your Seidat use to the next level. But in a nutshell, they automate stuff that you would regularly need to do manually. So if you need to copy paste material to another software, or do some sort of over and over work with Seidat, the integrations most likely can offer some sort of a solution to it. Yeah, we're few minutes over time, but few things I would like to point out at the end. What we covered tonight was mostly aimed on the brand management, user management, team management in general. We touched a bit about the best practices on what comes to the presentation management. We have another webinar where we go through how the presentations are edited, shared, viewed, and so on, much more in depth. And we keep those webinars every 2 months. So then in 2 months you can join that, or if you want to see the previous webinar we did 2 months ago, you can see that in our website. So it's Seidat.com, and you can see all the webinars that are coming and have been kept previously under there, and you can then see the recording. We have a support site which hopefully a lot of you have seen, and maybe if you had problems or questions about Seidat use, you have found your solution there. So it covers pretty much all of the things we covered tonight and much more. There are videos, there are articles with images, so it is quite easy to use. And if you don't find what you're looking for there, you can always contact us through the chat. And like I mentioned, that's the quickest way to get in contact. Here are a few of our companies that use Seidat. So if you see that your company is using Seidat and it's not included in here, and you would like to be proud Seidat user, let us know, and we can squeeze your logo in. But that would be the webinar of today. Hopefully you learned something new. If you have questions, I'm not in a rush. I can answer them, and I'll stop the recording now, so you will not be recorded. And by the way, this webinar recording will be added to the calendar invitation. So if you have any questions or you would like to go back to a topic, you can do that. But it takes some time for the recording to be made and then added to the